Agenda item 3, the meeting minutes from August 19th. And if everybody's had a chance to review those.
I would make a motion that we approve the meeting minutes from August 19th.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. A motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion carries. Number 4, Communications Committee and Staff Report.
Nothing additional to report, Madam Chairperson.
Thank you very much. On both items?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. We would like to welcome everyone and lay out a few ground rules which will apply to each public hearing held tonight. It is important that you present any facts or views as evidence so informed recommendations can be made by the Planning Commission to the governing body for final decision. By state statute, the governing body does not have to hold additional public hearings on these matters, although they may listen to whomever they wish. You will be asked if there's any new information which was not heard at these hearings. It is to everybody's advantage if you present all necessary information at these hearings. For each case, after the Planning and Zoning Administrator provides the Commission with background information, I will call upon the applicant. Public comments will be heard following the applicant. Once all have been heard, the applicant will have the opportunity for final comments. The Planning Commission will close the hearing to public comments and then consider 14 factors of which to base their recommendation. During this time, the Commission may direct questions to the applicant, to the public, and/or city staff. You should be aware that the Planning Commission can recommend that a site be platted or replatted if necessary, and that a site plan may be required for approval. You should be aware that any uses permitted outright in a district by regulations can receive a zoning permit. Furthermore, if the applicant chooses to describe various features of their development plans, the city can only enforce those provisions that are covered in zoning and other city codes. Anyone wishing to speak must be recognized by the chairperson and give their name and address. Please use the podium and speak clearly so your comments can be recorded for our inclusion in our minutes. The official notices for these hearings was published in the City of Andover Municipal website on August 23rd, 2025. And notices were mailed to applicant and real property owners of record on notification on August 22nd, 2025. The record shows that 20 days have elapsed between the publication and the mailing dates and the hearing date. Unless there's evidence to the contrary from anyone present, I will declare that proper notification has been given. Although we do not encourage such communications, I will ask the Commission if any of them received any ex parte verbal or written communications prior to these hearings they would like to share.
None.
None.
Thank you. Agenda item 5.1. I now call agenda item 5.1, which is a public hearing on case number ZPUD 25-0009. Before we proceed with the hearing, I'll ask Commission members if any of them intend to disqualify themselves from participating in this case because they or a relative own property in the notification area or have conflicts of interest.
No.
None.
Thank you. I now call on the city's zoning administrator to provide us a report on this case.
Well, Madam Chairperson and the Planning Commission, here we have the preliminary PUD document for the Thoroughbred, a new planned unit development that is to be located to the south of US 54-400, right across from the Buffalo Ridge Apartments, which are in the Green Valley Greens. That area is currently a A1 zoned agricultural parcel. The applicant intends to split it up into a few parcels. The parcel 1, you can see there, would be zoned with the MXR multiple family mixed residential district, and then the B5 highway corridor mixed use business district in parcels 2 and 3. Parcel 4 to the north is expected to become a part of KDOT's right-of-way when they get to this area with their improvement project, and there will likely be a frontage road that runs in that area. I want to point out that the city's agreement with KDOT mandates that frontage roads like that can only be accessed by public streets. So the streets, well, currently there is not one to the left there, but to the right, Allen Street running vertically would be able to connect, but any businesses that were near the highway frontage could not directly access that frontage. They would have to have another public street in front of them there. As well, in parcel 4, there is currently a billboard that is in place. It is expected to be removed, probably at the mandate of KDOT, and it will not be replaced per the city's regulations. There's an existing building just to the south of that billboard as well that you can see on the preliminary PUD document in the upper right. That will also be removed. You can see there that across the middle, kind of that wavy area, that is the extension of Clyde/Cloud Street. In our subdivision meeting when we talked about this last week, our fire marshal did bring up that he didn't love calling it Clyde, which is what it is labeled on here. So the name of that may change from what's shown here on the preliminary. We need to coordinate with fire, with the county, and with planning to determine what the best course of action is there. Regardless, that will be a collaborative project, the city and the developers, to extend that roadway. Clyde Street is to the west there, and it's to the north of where Cloud currently terminates. Sorry, those are kind of confusing names to have together. And that was the fire marshal's comment. I'll note that the existing trees, which you can kind of see depicted on here, most of them will be staying. Of course, there will be the room for the right-of-way that will become Clyde/Cloud, but a lot of existing screening will be kept, and that is around the perimeter of this property. Our comprehensive plan does agree with the strategy of this PUD in that we have more dense commercial and mixed-use development closer to the highway corridor to the north, and then a less dense mixed-use and residential development to the south. The applicant intends to work through this development in phases, and phase 1 is currently planned to potentially hold an apartment complex. We have the applicant and their engineer here to answer any comments. I'll leave it to them.
I think Jolene's working on our sound issue. I think people are having a hard time hearing. Are you on? Okay. Any questions of Julie at this point? Okay. I now call upon the applicant to make his or her presentation on the request and any response to the zoning administrator's report.
Good evening, Brian Lindeback, MKEC Engineering, 411 North Webb Road, on behalf of the owners, applicant. We've worked diligently with staff to craft this PUD, planned unit development. Just for the audience, is a custom zoning that allows for mixed uses to occur, and the planned unit development also helps to integrate the current zone, the planned zoning in with the current zoning that's surrounding it. So, I think we've got a good plan going forth here, and it is a preliminary plat or PUD. So the next stages will be a final plat, presuming we have success at City Council on this item. But I'll just stand for any questions that you might have.
Feel free to ask Brian any questions.
Brian, when we talked about this in the subdivision committee meeting, it looks like parcel 1 would not be taking place until fourth quarter of 2026.
Yeah, it's hard to say timing because a lot of this project would revolve around, construction schedules of KDOT, and I don't know that those are completely hatched just yet. But with successful application here, we would hope to see development kind of mirroring some of the improvements along the highway corridor, because it's on our understanding is that the Backage Road, which is what we see Clyde/Cloud, is part of that overall project for the first phase, which goes to Onewood and also extends out to Allen Street here, which is our eastern perimeter.
So what we see right now for Clyde/Cloud, that's being dictated by KDOT, correct?
It's shaped by KDOT.
That shape.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's dictated, but it's certainly shaped by the overall plan that's been in place for, probably 15, 20 years now with the corridor management plan. And then, of course, the more recent, comprehensive plan that has been recently updated not so long ago. And it speaks to all these sort of improvements in this area.
Okay, Thank you.
So the Clyde/Cloud Street
Mhm.
terminates to the west.
Presently, yeah, but
And the property immediately to the west, there is no road there today, but there is further to the west.
yeah, and
A
just
street
keep,
called Clyde.
yes, exactly. That street lines up with the Clyde improvements that are a part of phase one. And it's like I was saying, it's anticipated this will be part of the phase one improvements. Certainly, the road isn't there today, but as we get to the final plating stage and final PUD stage, that will become an actionable item. Right now, it's a paper map.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any members of the public who would like to speak on this case? Please come up to the podium, give your name and address.
My name is Keith Trevolt. I live at 403 West Feather Place, which is adjacent to what's going on in here. And so some of the questions I have, I ask out of ignorance because this is, other than getting the notice, this is still new to us. We've been there for a little over 45 years. There have been, we first of all had a very scenic junkyard that was there when I moved in. And the only problems we had with it was not lights or racket or commotion or new people running around. It was field rats. So I took care of those myself. So we've lived a pretty docile life in that area. We realize that there is going to be progress. First of all, they put in Holiday Inn Express, and all of the drainage water from that addition flows through our property to the extent that we were able to sell raft rides going through our property because the water became so deep and so rapid. It's caused a drainage problem, but we've learned to live with that. My major concern is I have no idea what's going on. I don't know what they want to build there, other than I looked up some of the vague information that was in the letter that they want to make it a multi-family mixed residential district. I got more information from ChatGPT when I plugged the letter in, and it was telling me that they could put in anything there if this zoning is changed from multiple apartment buildings to residential houses to shops to something like the loft that is down the street from us. So my first question would be, what are they planning to put in there? And how many buildings are they planning to, is proposed? Or has that even been decided yet? Is this just a meeting that talk about the zoning of it? Or are there already plans to reconstruct a whole area there?
So there are some preliminary plans, but this document doesn't actually establish a building that's going to be constructed. This is the zoning,
Just
the
zoning.
underlying zoning. and
Any
a
way we can
vague
get a
map.
picture or a copy of these?
Absolutely. This is all public information. It's in our packet on our website.
And where is it?
Our website's andoverks.gov.
Okay.
And on every Friday before a meeting like this, the packet goes live with all this information in it.
When it is determined that they're going to put up buildings, when would we be notified of that meeting?
There wouldn't be a hearing if they were to pull a permit, for example. That's not something that's a public matter. In this case, what is causing there to be a public hearing is that the zoning is being changed.
And this is not to insinuate anything. I'm not trying to be problematic. But are these gentlemen here the ones that represent what buildings are going to be put up eventually? So they're interested in this because of their financial status with this.
We do have the applicants here tonight. If you would like to come up to the microphone and talk a little bit about your plan as you've shared it with city staff, I think that would be helpful for the group.
Since they will be new neighbors.
That's fine. Yeah. Yeah.
Probably just a little bit education with the zoning hearing. It's about what land uses, and it's setting forth the parameters, the rules set forth for development. It's not specifically stating that this is going to be built, this is going to be built. It gives a range of things that can be built. The owners of this property who are purchasing it, the entirety of the property, are here with me tonight. They do desire to put in multifamily housing on the southern parcel. And then the future market will tell us what becomes of the northern parcels. So that is in short, what I can tell you is the game plan for right now as far as land uses go. But hopefully that helps answer the question. And as far as timing, there's a whole litany of other steps that have to take place. Certainly city council has to address this case, and further a final PUD and plat will have to address this case. And presuming there will be construction at some point in time, a site plan review committee will have to review and then adhere to the codes that are in place for the Unified Zoning Code, the UDM. And so there's just a litany of steps, and this is quite frankly the very beginning step of any development process. So hopefully I'm not being rhetorical in just that process of how things are going. But this is before you even lay any dirt down, you just got to figure out what can we do with this land legally, and so that's what we're doing tonight, is trying to determine what are the best ways we can develop this property in harmony with the comprehensive plan and in harmony with the area around us and the litany of different plans that have been placed in our community for orderly development.
Brian or staff, do one of you mind telling the public too how this will go in line with the KDOT project, kind of timeframe wise? Whichever.
Yeah, I think it's been expressed to me, but if staff wants to chip in too, but I think it's been expressed to me that it's anticipated that the overall first phase of the Kellogg project will begin in earnest in at the end of this year, start of next year, and that could take anywhere from 2-ish years. And I put a big ish on the backside of that because it'll probably feel like it's never ending probably for a while there, because there'll be a phase 2 project that will pick up right in front of this property and carry it on to the east through Andover Road. So there'll be a lot of construction activity in this area and a lot of change. There'll be a lot of change in just the corridor as a whole. I think you'll see land use changes, as this is being one of the earlier land use changes in this corridor, from what is today to what is tomorrow. So that's what I can tell you. I'm an Andover resident myself, so I'm eager to see things done in an orderly fashion myself. So
Thank you.
If I might add just
Yeah, go
quickly
ahead.
to what Mr. Lindenbach said about the various uses that are being defined here. On the PUD document, which as I said can be accessed on our website, obviously it's impossible to read when it's projected up here, but these blocks of text up near the top will include a big long list of things that could possibly be done on that parcel for this to go into effect. And the applicant here is kind of restricting themselves to what is listed there on purpose in order to create harmony with the comprehensive plan, as he stated. So if you want to get a good idea of the range of what could be done, that is where you'd want to look.
Yeah, and the document that we received for review this evening, I'll read one paragraph out of there. It says the 2024 to 2033 Activate Andover Comprehensive Plan designates the subject property as having the city corridor and mixed residential neighborhood place types, which encourages denser mixed-use development along the US 54-500 corridor. The proposed development is well supported by the comprehensive plan for the area, with denser commercial uses near to the highway, mixed-use development further south, and then sparser multifamily residential uses near the southern end of the property. So this is kind of what the guidelines that we receive from the Planning Commission from the comprehensive plan. And is what the developer trying to accomplish here, does that meet up with our comprehensive plan? And so I think that's one of the things that we'll debate this evening.
If there's no other questions, I'll go ahead and sit down.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the public that have any questions?
My name's Caden Andrews. I live at 641 South Island Street. I directly touch that property. They are to the north of my address. That property was purchased in 1986 by my grandfather, by my father in 16, and then me about a month ago. So it's the area is very familiar with Mr. Travolta and Mr. Kubish here. I'm very familiar with them passing by, but I don't personally know them. But my biggest concerns with that property is the reason why they need Clyde Cloud, especially if it's going to cut off at the neighborhood to the west, along other highway, like other portions of that highway. There's not a city corridor necessarily. It's just kind of Harry Street, Douglas, Lincoln. So that's my concerns there. Another area of concern is Buffalo Ridge is already there with plans to build, I think, 6-ish more apartments. I'm not totally sure on that. But if you compare population size of Andover to a city such as Derby, if you add this apartment complex, we have more apartments than Derby, with Derby being nearly double in size. And then similar concerns to Mr. Travolta is the current infrastructure and how the city or the applicants may or may not affect that. I am a witness to the drainage that just runs through approximately 3 or 4 other people's properties. It's very terrible. And with all the rain this year, it's been very evident that it's lacking. And so if there was a way to tie all that in together and to develop the area, if it is going to be accepted, I noticed that on other developments or on the whatever the website is where this is, the suggestion is to stop asphalt, whatever you want to call it, guttering sewages at Feather Place, which should just make that road kind of the same as it is now, just a dirty gravel road that gets tended barely. And that's an understatement probably. And then if the applicant was to be accepted, what kind of guarantees are we to have as a neighborhood? Just getting at home after work, I saw like 3 deer in my backyard. The tranquility I have chickens, just it's really gonna change the area. And I, as a citizen, do have concerns, especially with commotion and noises. On the website where this is, there are 6 apartment buildings that are going to go up on that south side. 2 plans. That is what's shown. And yeah.
Well, first I can address the question about Clyde terminating. The actual plan from that we're aware of is to take that all the way over to 159th. I'm sorry, I don't have it in the slides here to show you all, but you might have seen the document from KDOT that depicts that. So that would create a connection all the way from 159th over to what is now Cloud, and then obviously continue along Cloud's current trajectory. That way, we're not forcing all the residential properties to go north to the future frontage road and use that as their primary east-west access, because that would overload the frontage road and not be very good design. It would also make it hard to access this property because of its size. As for, so there, again, not depicted on the slides here, unfortunately, but some improvements to Allen that would, terminate at Feather, run down to Feather, are something that we plan for the future. That would mean that it would become improved from north where the highway is currently down to where Feather is.
Sure. My concern with that is there's still about a quarter mile left. And if you're just going to leave it gravel, what's the point? You could also argue that Bales, the other entryway into that neighborhood, would not be updated, thus leaving everyone just feeding north. So my argument on that would be to just blacktop those two main roads, not at the neighborhood's dollar. But if you're going to develop around us, have the city get a grant, you got a grant for founders. So I think if you're going to leave the neighborhood underdeveloped and not fix the drainage, then we'll have some angry neighbors. With me directly touching the property, the preliminary plans are for there to be a drainage pond ditch thing on the southest point of that property line. Are there going to be ways to address safety of that, animals that would be attracted to that, all that type of stuff? Again, I have a carport on that fence line where I keep stuff. The tree line's on my property completely, so that's kind of an issue of mine as well.
Yeah, they are required to make sure that the drainage characteristics do not affect properties nearby different than they do right now. So as a part of the process, especially when we get into the final plat process a few months down the line, that's something we'll talk about more. This plan has some conceptual drainage
Sure.
on it, but obviously doesn't show exactly where water is going to flow.
Okay. Hopefully I voiced my opinion.
And Julie, can you address to how the city takes a look at the drainage on these projects with the engineer? I mean,
Sure. Our engineer isn't here this evening, unfortunately, but we do have a city engineer who works with the engineers that prepare these kinds of documents and provides feedback and helps them to create a drainage plan that meets our requirements, like I said, to maintain the characteristics of the site so that we aren't, putting in a parking lot and then creating a pond somewhere else that wasn't intended.
is there a potential through site plan that this then would have to have a screening on that south side? I know you can't determine that yet, but
Right.
it would go through that
Between different
process?
uses, it may be that we
Okay.
determine that the existing hedgerow is not sufficient. So that
Okay.
then there would be more, there could be more around some of the drainage areas. It's hard to say right now.
Right.
As part of the conceptual plan, there is proposed stormwater lines to be put in.
Mhm.
And it appears they're moving to the south of the property in a very substantial Reserve A, which in subcommittee, we talked about that a little bit. I felt confident that water drainage would be addressed sufficiently, given the information we had at the time. But I am concerned about how Holiday Inn was allowed to do what they did. And are we going to be faced with that here? I think some assurances would be good.
Sure. Brian, would you like to speak on that? Sorry. He's the engineer.
Yeah, we develop property at MKEC as one of our core businesses, and I think it's fairly well known in the community and the broad area that MKEC does drainage very well. We look at it with a critical eye, not only for the safety measures, but we also look at it from an aesthetic measure as well. I know there were some concerns about wildlife and things. We try to develop things in a natural way as much as possible. This site is primarily draining to the south and west, and it also has drainage coming to the south and east. So in our drainage report that we have on file, we've looked at how to handle that drainage. There is drainage that is coming through from the Holiday Inn area across other properties. That is not part of this drainage pattern of this property. It is a concern of this area. I'm certain as things unfold, there'll be solutions in place. Not necessarily at the result of this project, but maybe as a result of overall development in the area, and perhaps with KDOT improvements. I can't speak to the exact detail of how that will unfold, given this is the preliminary stage of the whole project. But those things will be looked at in depth, and they'll be addressed, and these drainage patterns will be not releasing more drainage than is presently there.
I guess the best assurance I can give is that we have a lot of very smart people that try to make sure that we put these things together responsibly, including a bunch of engineers who are much smarter than I am.
Again, I think Reserve A looks to be substantial.
Very.
And so, to me, I felt comfortable, but I can't address what Holiday Inn did.
Right.
We're not going to add to it, but this is what I got.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Keith Trevolt again on Feather Place. And I don't know about the order here. I don't know if you get to stand up once and that's it. I don't usually come to these. The last 3 meetings I've come to over the past 20 years, or the years when we got incorporated into the city, they were going to put in that facility a nursing home down near that south end. And we had a meeting, and after that meeting, it was determined, and I could be wrong on this one, but it was determined that they decided not to do it. I don't know if it was for financial reasons or if it was because that land is saturated with oil from those old cars. And they had done studies there, land studies, that land was polluted. So I don't know if that's going to be addressed or if there's going to be some kind of an environmental cleanup before they put in any facility. And the city engineer has been very nice. I get to visit with him yearly over the past 8 or 9 years. Nothing gets resolved, but we have good talks. At least we're on a first name basis now. The drainage, and I know that this doesn't have anything to do with that part of the land, but what I'm saying is the drainage from that land and the drainage from my property, which goes to the south end of that land, is worse. And the engineering didn't accommodate for it at all. In fact, the street is starting to wash away, especially this summer since we've had more rains. Now, again, that's another problem on my side. But I agree that if they're going to be, and they need to know this, if they're going to be putting in apartment buildings and so forth, the dust from that area is atrocious. So you're going to have other environmental concerns with people that live in those apartments because of that dust road and so forth. Now, fortunately, they put rock on the street here about a year ago. And that was nice because all they put down before was sand. And now we have our own beach in our property because all of the sand from the road washed off into the property. So for whatever it's worth, drainage needs to be addressed with this also, but thank you.
Brian, can we assume that there will be is there going to be an environmental study done on the property before development?
I'll sit closer next
Okay.
time. I would say, it's on the owners that are purchasing the property to determine either a phase 1 or phase 2 environmental assessment, and that's on them to figure out, if there's things that need to
That
be
need to be
triggered.
addressed.
So certainly that's on, an owner's situation. So
Okay.
beyond that, I can't say.
Any other members of the public? Going once? Go ahead.
If you are here for this issue, do take the opportunity to speak. We don't always often get to hear, and to return to Mr. Treebolt, I believe's point earlier, this is an important step in a process. So this is one of the moments along the process that you should express your concerns if you have them. So just wanted to, if anyone's here for this.
Yeah, and for staff, since it has been brought up that this used to be an old salvage yard, would we require the applicant to do an environmental study?
That's something that might come up closer to actual permitting time, or at least when they start to do some grading, not as a part of this preliminary PUD process at least. And it's not personally on my radar as an existing problem, but it is something I'll look into.
Thank you. I'm going to move forward, but if there's questions that pop up, please let me know. Have there been any written communications received?
I have not received any.
Thank you. Before I close the hearing, does the applicant want to where'd you go? Make any final comments?
No, thank you.
Okay. No other public want to comment? Okay. So hearing no further public comments, I hereby close the public portion of the hearing. There will be no further public comments unless the commission wishes to ask questions to clarify information. The Planning Commission will now deliberate the request. There are 14 factors which the commission must consider in order to make a finding and ultimately a recommendation.
I can read those if you.
Thank you, Peter.
Staff items, number 1, do adequate sewage disposal and water supply and all other necessary public facilities, including street access, exist? Or can they be provided to serve the uses that would be permitted on the subject property if the change in zoning was approved? Staff's response: public facilities are in place and adequate or could be readily extended to serve the property. Number 2, if the zoning change request was approved, would the subject property need to be platted or replatted or have in lieu of dedications made in order to provide needed rights-of-way, easements, building setback lines, or access control? Staff: the preliminary PUD would be followed by application for a final PUD, which includes a final plat and which will include such dedications and easements as needed. Number 3, if the zoning change request was approved, would the subject property need a screening plan for existing or potential uses? Staff: the applicant has submitted a conceptual landscaping plan for screening the site, which will be elaborated upon at the time of final platting. Several hedge groves are already in place around the perimeter of the parcel and are expected to remain there. Number 4, what fact-based information in support or in opposition to the requested zoning change has staff received? Staff: none at this time. Number 5, if there has been an error in the application of these zoning regulations to the subject property, Would the requested zoning change correct the error? Staff. There is no error known to exist. Number 6, staff and commission council items. How suitable or unsuitable is the subject property for its current zoning? Staff. The property is physically suitable for its current zoning, but it currently features several legal nonconformances, which are expected to be remedied by development.
Concur.
Concur.
Concur. Number 7, is the length of time the subject property has been vacant or undeveloped under its current zoning a factor in the zoning change request? Staff. The subject property has been undeveloped for some time. The incoming KDOT highway improvements are expected to spur growth in the area and lead to redevelopment around the subject property.
Concur.
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 Number 8, how reasonably well suited will the requested zoning change of the subject property be with the current zoning and nearby zoning of nearby properties? Staff. The requested zoning change is well suited to the current zoning of nearby properties. The subject property is adjacent to similar residential and business uses and conforms to the city's future land use planning for the areas.
Can I
Concur.
pause us here on this point? Because I feel like this is, we move through these really quickly, and today this one seems somewhat contentious. That we at least have some people expressing their concern. I just want to make sure that we all do concur that the requested zoning change is well suited to the current zoning of nearby properties. Because that seems to be at the root of the question for me. Have we accepted that?
Well, and as that paragraph that I read, this does fit in with what the comprehensive plan is for the city, which was done by residents, staff, businesses, and, people that were involved in creating that comprehensive plan.
I would add to that by saying it may not be ideal in terms of what the property was, but it is in conformance with how the property is to be developed.
And if I may, while our zoning map doesn't really show it that clearly because this is existing zoning and it's just showing the agricultural on this property, our comprehensive plan map does kind of show roughly along where Clyde Street is. There's kind of a division where we go from our denser, more business-focused city corridor use to the north, and then to the south is our mixed residential, which, as you'll notice, is what all of the existing residential that's directly to the east is also designated as. So we feel that it's a similar kind of use, and that's why it's designated with the same place type.
That's helpful.
So shall I reread number 8, or do we all concur, or is there not? I concur with number 8.
Concur.
I concur, yes.
Thank you. Number 9, has the zoning change been requested because conditions in the area of the subject property have changed or are changing? If so, what is the nature and significance of these conditions? Staff, the subject property will be affected by the incoming KDOT project along US 54-400, which will create a frontage road and encourage redevelopment near the site.
Concur.
Concur.
Number 10, what are the current land uses, character, and condition of the subject property in the surrounding neighborhood? Staff, the subject property is currently largely vacant, with one small structure to the north. The property to the west is similar in use. To the east, businesses and medium-density residential developments are present.
Concur.
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 Agree. Number 11, would the proposed zoning change of the subject property allow land uses which might have detrimental effects on nearby properties? And if so, how? Staff. Construction of the subject property will increase noise, traffic, etc., but is not expected to introduce undue negative effects on nearby properties.
Concur with reservations.
Yeah, I would say during the process itself, there's going to be disruption. That's just-
Certainly, and as was alluded during our discussion of the KDOT project, that will also be quite a lot of a disruption in the area. Any development will entail construction noise and construction traffic and everything like that. If it didn't happen now, it would happen someday.
Mhm.
And as this is a preliminary PUD, there may be additional items that are brought forward before the final PUD that might make a change on this, but I would concur with this one.
I would concur.
As I said, I concur with reservations.
Fair enough. Number 12, how would the requested zoning change conform with the city's comprehensive plan and other adopted master plans and policies? Staff, the comprehensive plan suggests the city corridor and mixed residential neighborhood place types for the area, which is consistent with the applicant's proposal. The layout of the PUD takes into account the US 54-400 corridor and its upcoming expansion. I concur.
Concur.
One issue on this has been brought up by Mr. Andrews is, this has the potential of being an apartment complex. And I think that, a lot of people are concerned about the number of apartments in Andover that are being built. I think people have to realize this is a very desirable area to be living in. And a lot of people are not willing to buy homes nowadays. They're looking for other places to live and stuff. And this does provide an opportunity for individuals who want to live and make a contribution to Andover to live without purchasing a property. I don't think the developer, if they want to address it, they're not going to be building apartments that are going to sit vacant. That does not make financial sense.
Just to add on to that a little, as our mayor likes to tell everyone, we are the fastest growing city in Kansas with a population less than, is it 30,000? Is that what he likes to say? Just more than 10? We are very quickly growing is the point. And as I'm sure anyone who has tried to drive westbound on Kellogg in the evening can tell you, we have quite a lot of people that work in Wichita that would like to live closer to where they work. When they work in Andover, like to move out here. We want to increase the amount of housing. And as you pointed out, we don't intend to have any of these sitting empty for very long.
And from what I understand, speaking with Les on this committee in prior meetings, we are actually below in terms of penetration of apartment complexes per the overall city development.
Right. It's a type of housing that we don't have the amount that we want to have. There's different kind of price brackets you're looking at. If you have younger couples that are trying to get started, they probably can't afford a large house on a very large lot in some of our more expensive neighborhoods. And giving them an option like this to be able to actually move into Andover and live and work here is exactly what we're trying to encourage.
So I would concur.
Concur. Number 13. Do any professional persons knowledgeable on conditions that affect this zoning change request have information or recommendations to provide which would be helpful in its evaluation? Staff. Staff supports the establishment of the PUD.
Concur.
Concur.
And 14. How would the potential loss in value or hardship imposed upon the applicant compare to the relative gain to the public health, safety, and welfare if there is a change from the current zone to the requested zone? Staff. No detriment to the public health, safety, and welfare is perceived. Any changes in light, traffic, or noise can be sufficiently mitigated with adequate screening and buffering.
Concur.
I concur.
Concur.
Having discussed and reached conclusions of our finding in fact, I would remind the commission that a proper motion should reflect the factors of which it's based, and if approval is recommended, then consideration should be given to any conditions that might be attached. Is there a motion to either recommend approval, modification and approval, disapproval, or to table the discussion?
Well, having considered the evidence at the hearings and the factors to evaluate the application, I, Gary Israel, move that we recommend to the governing body that case number Z-PUD 25-0009 be approved based on the findings of the Planning Commission on findings number 8, 10, 12, and 14 as recorded in the summary of this hearing.
Thank you, Gary. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Clint. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? And the motion carries. Thank you for coming out this evening. I would request staff, if possible, that we do address, have engineering, Les, whomever, work with the current residents on the drainage issue and hopefully give
Absolutely.
us some feedback on
Yeah.
how that's progressing, especially as this project develops.
Yeah, the drainage near Allen is something that we're paying a lot of attention to as we work on this. Public Works has had some input on that, so I'll make sure that we speak with them.
Thank you. Thank you. This case will be forwarded to the governing body with the Planning Commission's recommendation and a written summary of this hearing for consideration at their regular meeting of October 14th, 2025. The recording of this hearings will be retained at least 60 days after final determination is completed on this case. Protest petitions against this case, but not directed at the commission's recommendations as such, may be received by the city clerk for 14 days after tonight, September 30th, 2025 at 4:30. If there are properly signed protest petitions with accurate legal descriptions from the owners of record of at least 20% or more of the total real property owners within the official areas of notification, both inside and outside of the city and not counting public street right-of-ways or specific statutorily excluded property, then such change shall not be passed except for by a 3/4 votes of the members of the city council. Thank you.
Madam Chairperson, I make a motion to recess the Planning Commission and convene the Board of Zoning Appeals.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And we will go into 5.2. So I now call agenda item 5.2, which is a public hearing on case number BZA-V25-0012. Before we proceed with the hearing, I'll ask the commission members if any of them intend to disqualify themselves from participating in this case because they or a relative own property in the area of notification or have conflicts of interest.
No.
Thank you. I now call on the city's zoning administrator to provide us with a report on this case.
The variance case that we have this evening is not the one that is up on the screen. Trey, can we get 5.3 on the screen instead of 5.2? I think I might have mixed up your paperwork, Ms. Chairperson, but it's all right. Doesn't really matter. This case, there we go. The applicant is
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 was the correct one that was up.
2 is what was up there, but she called the hearing for this one to order. So that's okay. This is an application, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The one we're on.
The,
It's not this one.
No,
Right.
we need to jump to, I think, the Cloud Avenue, correct?
that is what 5.2 was supposed to be, but that's not the
Okay.
hearing that was called. So
Okay.
I can
sorry.
adapt.
Okay.
Up to you.
So
No,
we're on.
We're fine. We're
120
gonna jump to agenda item 5.3, which is 123 West Cloud, correct?
That is, yeah.
Okay. and then we'll go backtrack to 520 East Cloud for the next one.
So 5.3 here, yeah, we are talking about 123 West Cloud Avenue, Andover Auto Body. Applicant is applying for a variance in order to expand that building that you see over on the western side to the north. This diagram actually does a great job of explaining exactly what this variance is about. So what the variance says is that they want a reduction in the front yard setback of this. And what that really means is that, as you can see kind of on the map there's a dotted line that shows that you have to build that distance back from the right of way from Cloud Avenue. This building, if it were constructed as the rectangle that it is, would have a little corner that encroaches into that front yard setback, pretty much because of the shape of Cloud Avenue. It's not a rectangular site, it kind of curves around. So the applicant is just requesting to be able to do that and maintain that full length of the building rather than either cutting off a corner or probably just not, being able to construct this addition the way that they want to. This is kind of a workshop space from my understanding. This proposed building over to the west. And it would look very much the same as the existing buildings that are further to the east. The proposed building, as it's labeled on there, that is kind of the part without the addition, has been to our site plan review committee. This addition would probably be reviewed by them as well as a revised site plan on that, but it would retain the aesthetic characteristics.
Any questions for Julie at this point?
Just
We'll get to you in just a second.
the use of the building. That's just, it looks like there's plenty of room for it, right? It's just, I'm sure they considered reducing the size of the building and still maintaining a rectangular.
Right, it could have just had the corner right at the building setback line.
Right.
Yeah.
Is there any reason why the proposed building doesn't line up with the existing parts building on the south? Could it be moved a little
On that
further
south
to
line?
the south?
They are restricted by, well, there's the rear yard setback there, of course, and let me go to my aerial here. You can kind of see the shape of the property there. The person that lives right behind there actually does use that area for access. Not
okay.
on this person's property, not
Yeah.
on 123 West Cloud, but I know that they didn't want to encroach on the existing architecture of that area.
Okay. Thank you.
I'll also add, I don't think it's really depicted super clearly on here, but some of the mechanical elements for that building would be on the south side. And screened, of course. That was something we talked about in site plan back when this was approved.
Okay. I now call upon the applicant to make his or her presentation on the request and any response to the zoning administrator's report.
Hello, Jeff with Andover Auto Body. Like you said, just the current building there is almost done being constructed. Should be here in about 2 or 3 weeks. That building's 8,000 square feet, and I'm just wanting to add another 4,000 square feet to the north of it.
Thank you. Any questions for our applicant at this point?
Is that behind the fence that's there right now?
Yes, sir. Yeah, that's just the going into the easement. You still won't see it from the road.
You're coming off the street, right there where it curves, right?
So the fence, it's still behind the fence.
Yeah, this isn't letting them build outside of their own property. This is just getting a little bit closer to the road than they would normally be allowed to.
Yeah, it's all fenced. It's fenced all along Cloud. It is. But
So can we have any members of the public who wish to ask questions or speak on the case come up to the podium and give your name and your address, please?
Yes, thank you. My name's Robert Simmons, and I live at the address just south of where you want to change the ordinance.
The other side of the fence.
But I'm tired of giving up stuff for this company. When they came in You wanted us to say yay or nay on the property out there at Andover Road and Cloud. I didn't have a problem with that. But since then, he's added on 2 whole stalls to the back of that building. Got light shining down in my yard. I can't sit on my back patio. Now they're gonna put this building here. It's in my front yard. That just can't be. I'm sorry. But if you approve this, you can, but the guy has done nothing that he said he would do. It's been 4 or 5 years. He's added on to his place. He put another building behind it. We got a fence over there. He put a privacy fence up, 6 foot high. There's that much gap under it. That much gap under it. He won't do nothing about it. Now, I'm tired of doing this. Seriously, I'm just tired. So that's all I got to say.
Can I ask what your address is, please?
I'm sorry.
May I ask what your address is, please?
602 South Daisy.
Thank you.
I'm right next to the property.
I do want to point out this variance is not deciding whether there can be a building in the first place. As the property owner said, that
Well,
building he's
yeah,
constructing
they should've-
is already there.
Yeah, they should have checked before they put the building in.
It did go to our site plan review committee when it was
I'm sorry.
proposed. That building did go before our site plan review committee whenever it was proposed, just like the rest of the commercial buildings on this property.
Well, it's commercial, yeah, but there's no use of giving up anymore. I'm tired of it. I mean, you come to my house, lives right south of him, and they got big old blaster lights going over and all that. And they got,
That is something that we can look into.
and they got cameras up there that's gonna shine over my fence, right into my yard. I don't know what else to say. You know, I'm not for this building. I'm not for any of it. So you guys do what you gotta do.
So I just want to point out that this gentleman's house is directly south of that. See the carports? Then there's a building. He's south of that building. Okay. The building to the west, it's already built. I mean, it's up. It's up. So all we're doing is adding on to the north, which he can't even see. And then if you'll remember, when you're talking about the gap in the fence, do you remember I told you we're getting ready to pour 8 inch of concrete that'll fill that gap?
You remember last time we talked about it, you said you gotta put rock in there and fill it in. Hell, I went over rocks, shit coming in. all the
Okay,
time.
anyway, it's getting concreted, so
Okay.
with 8 inches of concrete, and it'll fill the gap that he's worried about.
And tonight, we are only approving the little blue area. We are not approving a building. We are
Correct. You are
approving the blue
approving a
area.
variance to the zoning code that would allow the front yard setback to be encroached by, I believe it's 10 feet.
Okay,
That is the entirety of what you are approving.
okay.
And the building that's already there, that went through site plan, correct?
Correct.
And has the applicant met all the requirements that were requested by site plan?
The construction isn't finished yet, so we haven't performed a final inspection of it.
Okay.
It
How
sounds like
about
they
for
might have some
Screening,
issues.
lighting,
Right. It
all
sounds like
those
there may be
issues.
some problems with the lighting spilling onto nearby properties, so we will investigate that. The screening is as it is supposed to be with the fence that was mentioned.
Okay.
That would be my suggestion as we look at the landscaping to the south and see if there's something that can be done. to change the way the lighting is? Maybe face it towards the north rather than in his backyard? I don't know. I doubt you could put a fence up any higher, but
I mean, he's obviously just upset that there's actually no lighting on that south side. So I don't know what he's talking about.
After we go through the findings of fact, can the motion include a motion like around site plan as a modification?
You can include anything you want to include.
For staff, has any response, well, there's no utilities or anything in that section of the setback that they're looking at
Right,
building
it's
on?
not a utility easement, it's just the building setback.
Okay, and there is a fence all along Cloud, just north of that, correct? So somebody's not gonna drive off of Cloud and smash into the
They
building.
would have to be really dedicated to driving off-road if they wanted to do that.
Okay, and fire and police have no issues. Have they
None
addressed
whatsoever.
this?
So I'll just kind of, for comparison, in most residential districts, 25 feet is the front yard setback. And that's what they're asking to have here, is make it similar to residential districts where it's 25, not 35.
Yeah. I know once I came before planning commission for a variance on a setback for a third car garage for my house, which would have stuck out about 2 feet into the setback, and nobody had an issue with that. Unfortunately, I couldn't afford to build it, so.
Any other members of the public? Any written communications?
Nope.
Does the applicant wish to present any final comments?
No, ma'am, thank you.
Any other questions before we proceed?
the line of disturbance, how is that determined?
That was what, I'm sorry.
The line of disturbance, that dashed line,
The one to the north there.
and it goes to the west as well.
Right. So this is a diagram of the property that is not from the original plat, but is based on it. And that's something that was determined on there at the time of platting. I honestly was not with the city at the time that this was platted, so I can't exactly tell you what the rationale behind that exact placement was, but the building setback and the line depicting it are based on the zoning district. This isn't a PUD. A PUD would allow for a variation from what the zoning district would normally require. This is not that, so that's how those zoned properties are set back.
It doesn't appear that it's going to disturb it any more than what it currently is. I'm just wondering how it was established.
Based on the zoning, and I honestly couldn't tell you the exact reason for that being the number associated with that zoning district.
The addition of the access, is there traffic issues associated with that additional square footage?
I don't think so. This isn't a business that has a ton of vehicles going in and out constantly. Vehicles tend to go there and then stay there for a while, obviously. So I don't anticipate, adding 50% increased area to this building would really substantially affect traffic whatsoever.
The access to cloud is not going to be affected?
Shouldn't be.
Thanks.
And this does stay outside of our vision area as well for turning off of that.
Thank you.
Anything else? Hearing no further public comments, I hereby close the public portion of the hearing. There will be no further public comments unless the board wishes to ask questions to clarify information. The board will now deliberate the request to determine whether the evidence presented supports the conclusions of required finding of fact. The board will now consider the criteria provided for evaluation.
I can read these.
Please, thank you.
Does the evidence demonstrate that, 1, the physical surroundings, shape, or topography of the property would result in a practical difficulty as distinguished from a mere inconvenience for the owner, lessee, or occupant? Am I on the right one? I am, right?
Yep.
The subject property is oddly shaped due to the curve of West Cloud Avenue to the north. This results in less buildable space on the west side of the property when compared to the east.
Concur.
Concur. 2, granting the variance will result in material detriment or injury to other property or improvements in the neighborhood. Staff, no such detriments are expected.
Concur.
3, granting the variance will result in an inadequate supply of light or air to adjacent property, substantially increase traffic congestion, increase fire risk, or substantially diminish property values in the neighborhood. Staff, no such detriments are expected. Concur.
Concur.
4, the request for a variance is not based exclusively on a desire of the owner, lessee, or occupant or applicant to make more money out of the property. Staff, the applicant wishes to expand their existing business by adding to an existing structure.
Concur.
Specific conditions to be met. 1, the requested variance arises from a condition unique to the property in question, which is not ordinarily found in the same zoning district and which was not created by any action of the property owner or the applicant. Staff, the subject property is oddly shaped due to the curve of West Cloud Avenue to the north. This results in less buildable space on the west side of the property when compared to the east.
Concur.
2, strict application of the provisions of these zoning regulations would result in unnecessary hardship for the owner, lessee, or occupant of the land or structures. Staff, strict application of the zoning regulations in this case would result in the applicant being confined to a smaller building than can otherwise be supported, which would not align with the existing structures along West Cloud Avenue.
Concur.
3, granting the variance will not adversely affect the rights of adjacent property owners or residents. Staff, no such adverse effects are anticipated.
Concur.
4, the requested variance will not adversely affect the public health, safety, morals, order, convenience, prosperity, or general welfare. Staff, no such adverse effects are anticipated.
I have a question there. Did we put in a hospital or is it Wesley? That's just to the north of that, right?
The emergency.
Right.
Yeah.
There's no increased traffic here that's going to affect what's going on with public health and potential safety.
I don't think that reducing the front yard setback would materially affect traffic on Cloud or on the nearby
Want
streets.
to make sure. I concur.
And 5, the requested variance will not be opposed to the general spirit and intent of these zoning regulations. Staff, were it to be approved, the requested variance is unlikely to affect public health, safety, morals, comfort, or general welfare in the city.
Concur.
Is there a motion to either approve, modify and approve, disapprove, or table the discussion?
Having considered the evidence of the hearing and determined that the findings of fact have been found to exist that support all 5 conditions set out in subsection 11-106.b2 of the zoning regulations and KSA 12-759E, I, Dan Coulson, move that the chairperson be authorized to sign a resolution granting the variance for case number BZA V250012 as requested.
I'll second.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion carries. A resolution will be prepared and made available to the applicant as soon as reasonably possible, but no later than 45 days from the date of this hearing. If anyone is aggrieved by this decision, a further appeal can be made to the district court to determine its reasonableness within 30 days after the resolution is signed and filed with the zoning administrator. Okay, so now we're to really 5.2 that's labeled 5.3. Okay. So I now call agenda item 5.2, which is a public hearing on case number BZA CU 25-0003. Before we proceed with the hearing, I'll ask the commission members if any of them intend to disqualify themselves from participating in this case because they or a relative own property in the area of notification or have conflicts of interest.
None.
None.
I now call upon the city zoning administrator to provide us with a report on this case.
This case is an application for a conditional use for the in-construction Chipotle, 520 East Cloud, which is zoned B3 business. In the B3 district, outdoor patio seating is a conditional use. not permitted outright. So that is why you all get to see it today. This is very similar to other restaurants in the area. In fact, the Planning Commission approved the exact same thing for the Freddy's restaurant that is just down Cloud over to the east for outdoor patio seating with the same zoning. We feel this is very much the same situation. The only real requirements given from our development guidelines are that the patio seating cannot encroach into the right of way. This is pretty far from the right of way. It's next to the building there, and I guess you could say it's in their parking lot, but really it's an outdoor area separated from the parking lot in order to hold this patio seating. So staff thinks this is exceptionally reasonable.
Thank you. Any questions so far?
Just one, the location of the patio, I'm sure has been reviewed in terms of traffic flowing around, kids and so on. There'll be adequate structure and
Safety.
Right, there is some fencing around it, and it's adjacent to, you can kind of see it on the diagram there, the drive-through lane is to the west. It is adjacent to that with a fence.
it does go right by it, right? So that's my only concern.
Is the applicant present too? No. So, and no members of the public seem to be here. Any written communications?
I have not received any.
And there's no final comments. So hearing no public comments, I hereby close the public portion of the hearing. There will be no further public comments unless the board wishes to ask questions to clarify information. The board will deliberate the request to determine whether the evidence presented supports the conclusions of required findings of fact. The board will now consider the criteria provided for evaluation.
Would you like me to read those?
Yes, please.
Does the evidence support the conclusion that, number one, the proposed conditional use complies with all applicable regulations, including lot size requirements, bulk regulations, use limitations, and performance standards unless a concurrent application is in process for a variance? Staff, yes.
Concur.
Number two, the proposed conditional use will not cause substantial injury to the value of other property in the neighborhood. Staff anticipates no such negative effects. Concur. Number three, the location and size of the conditional use, the nature and intensity of the operation involved in or conducted in connection with it, and the location of the site with respect to streets giving access to it are such that the conditional use will not dominate the immediate neighborhood as to prevent development and use of neighboring property in accordance with the applicable zoning district regulations. In determining whether the conditional use will so dominate the immediate neighborhood, consideration should be given to A, the location, nature, size, and height of the building, structures, walls, and fences on the site, and B, the nature and extent of landscaping and screening on the site. Staff, the requested conditional use will not dominate the immediate neighborhood or prevent development of the surrounding area. Concur. Number four, off-street parking and loading areas will be provided in accordance with the standards set forth in Article 5 of these regulations. Such areas will be screened from adjoining residential uses and located so as to protect such residential uses from injurious effects. Staff, yes. Concur. Number six. Five, excuse me. Adequate utility, drainage, and other such necessary facilities have been installed or will be provided by plating, dedications, and/or guarantees. Staff, yes, all are currently in place. Concur. Number six, adequate access roads, entrance and exit drives, and/or access controls is available or will be provided by plating, dedications, and/or guarantees, and shall be so designed to prevent traffic hazards and to minimize traffic congestion in public streets and roads. Staff, yes. Concur.
Is there a motion to either approve, modify, approve, disapprove, or table the discussion?
Having considered the evidence at the hearing and determined that the findings of fact have been found to exist to support all 6 conditions set down in subsection 11-107C of the zoning regulations, I, Dan Colson, move that the chairperson be authorized to sign a resolution granting the conditional use for case number BZA CU 25-0003 as requested.
I second the motion.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? And the motion carries. I'll make the motion to adjourn the Board of Zoning
There's
Appeals.
a little bit at the end. You
Oh,
need to
Closing
read.
I'm so
remarks.
sorry. A resolution will be prepared and made available to the applicant as soon as reasonably possible, but no later than 45 days from the date of hearing. If anyone is aggrieved by this decision, a further appeal can be made to the district court to determine its reasonableness within 30 days after the resolution is signed and filed with the zoning administrator.
Thank
And
you.
now I will make the motion to adjourn the Board of Zoning Appeals and reconvene the Planning Commission.
Second the motion.
Thank you. A motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion carries. Do we have any member items?
No.
All right.
I'd like to vote myself 100% pay increase.
Well, you're not going to get that, Peter. I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting this evening.
Second the motion.
Thank you. Motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And we are done.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.